You know what's wild? While most Canadians are arguing about the price of groceries and whether their Tim Hortons order is worth the wait anymore, Alberta is casually preparing to vote on whether they want to break up with the entire country. Yeah, you heard that right. In 2026, Albertans will head to the polls to decide if they want to go full breakup mode with Canada, and honestly, this might be the most dramatic relationship ending since your cousin unfriended half the family on Facebook over Thanksgiving turkey. Welcome to Canadian Insights, where we break down the chaos so you don't have to, and today we're diving into Alberta's potential separation vote, the political minefield Danielle Smith is tap dancing through, and why next year might make 2025 look like a relaxing vacation. Buckle up, because this is about to get messier than a Calgary Stampede pancake breakfast. So let's set the stage here. Alberta politics in recent years has been about as calm as a hockey game where someone brings up equalization payments. We've had controversies over trans rights, teachers striking, the notwithstanding clause getting tossed around like it's a legislative frisbee, and basically every hot-button issue you can imagine. It's been intense. But here's the kicker, all of that drama? That might end up looking like a warm-up act compared to what's coming. Because by fall 2026, Albertans will be staring at a ballot asking them point-blank, do you agree that the province of Alberta should cease to be a part of Canada to become an independent state? I mean, talk about a relationship status update. That's not it's complicated, that's we're filing the divorce papers and splitting the Netflix account. Now, how did we get here? Well, Alberta separatism isn't exactly new. It's been bubbling under the surface for decades, flaring up whenever Ottawa does something that makes Albertans feel like they're getting the short end of the hockey stick. Equalization payments, carbon taxes, pipeline cancellations, you name it. But this time, it's different. This isn't just angry talk radio callers venting into the void. This is an actual, legitimate, province-wide referendum that's happening. The question is legally binding in terms of it having to happen, and the separatist movement managed to gather way more than the required signatures to force this vote. They blew past their target like Connor McDavid blowing past a defenseman. But here's where it gets interesting. The rules around how many signatures were needed mysteriously got more favorable along the way. Classic government move, right? Change the goalposts when it suits you, especially when you're terrified of splitting your own political party. Let's talk about Premier Danielle Smith for a second, because she is in the most awkward political position imaginable. Picture this, you're trying to keep your party together, half of whom think Canada is the problem and the other half think separation is absolutely bonkers. You're getting booed at your own party convention for saying you believe in a sovereign Alberta within a united Canada. Meanwhile, the separatist leader, Jeffrey Rath, is getting standing ovations for demanding independence. That's not a political party, that's a family reunion where half the relatives aren't speaking to each other and someone's threatening to leave and take the good casserole dishes. Smith is basically walking a tightrope over a pit of angry constituents, and one wrong step could tank her entire political career. Smith keeps saying she wants Canada to work for Alberta. She's putting her faith in agreements with Prime Minister Mark Carney's Liberal government. Yes, that Mark Carney, former Bank of Canada governor, former Bank of England governor, and now the guy trying to hold together a country where one province is openly considering leaving. No pressure, Mark. Smith is banking on the idea that she can negotiate a better deal for Alberta within Canada, making the case that separation isn't necessary if Ottawa just plays ball. But here's the problem with that strategy, it assumes that the separatists care about deals and negotiations. Spoiler alert, they don't. They're not interested in a better arrangement, they want out. Period. Full stop. They're done with the relationship, they've changed the locks, and they're not interested in couples therapy. The United Conservative Party is absolutely terrified of what this referendum means for their political future. You've got this massive chunk of your base that's genuinely considering voting yes on separation, and if you come out too hard against it, you risk alienating them and splitting your party into pieces. But if you don't come out hard enough against it, you look like you're sympathetic to breaking up the country, which makes you radioactive to moderate voters in every other province. It's a lose-lose situation wrapped in a political nightmare dipped in existential dread. The UCP has basically been trying to coddle the separatist movement just enough to keep them from bolting and forming their own party, which would split the Conservative vote and hand power to the NDP faster than you can say Rachel Notley. Now let's game this out. What actually happens if the referendum passes? Because that's the million-dollar question, or should I say, the hundreds of billions of dollars question. If Albertans vote yes on separation, does Alberta just become its own country overnight? Does someone plant a flag and start printing Alberta passports? Not quite. The legal and constitutional chaos that would follow a yes vote would make Brexit look like a well-organized book club. You'd have to negotiate literally everything. National debt, federal assets, indigenous rights and treaties, military bases, currency, trade agreements, pensions, citizenship, the list is endless. And that's before we even talk about whether the rest of Canada would let Alberta leave without a massive fight. Quebec tried this twice, remember, and both times they stayed. Separation is easy to vote for, it's incredibly hard to actually do. And then there's the economic question, which is the elephant in the room the size of the Alberta legislature. Alberta's economy is heavily dependent on oil and gas, we all know that. But it's also deeply integrated with the rest of Canada. Pipelines cross provincial borders. Trade flows freely across the country. Federal transfer payments, yes, even to Alberta in some contexts, federal infrastructure, research funding, all of it would suddenly be on the table. An independent Alberta would need to negotiate trade deals, not just with Canada, but with the United States, the European Union, everyone. And there's no guarantee those would be favorable. Oh, and good luck getting into international organizations as a brand new country whose entire existence is built on breaking away from a stable Western democracy. The UN Security Council isn't exactly handing out welcome baskets. But let's be real for a second. The emotional and political arguments for separation aren't based on spreadsheets and economic forecasts. They're based on frustration, on feeling ignored, on decades of perceived grievances against Ottawa. You can't logic someone out of a position they didn't logic themselves into. Albertans who support separation genuinely believe that they'd be better off on their own, that they're carrying the rest of Canada on their backs and getting nothing in return. Whether that's objectively true is almost beside the point. Politics is about feelings as much as it is about facts, and the feelings in Alberta right now are raw. So where does that leave Danielle Smith? Stuck between a rock and a hard place doesn't even begin to cover it. If she campaigns against separation too aggressively, she alienates a huge chunk of her base and potentially destroys party unity. If she doesn't campaign against it hard enough, she looks weak and indecisive, plus she risks actually winning a referendum that would blow up the country and her political career along with it. My guess? She's going to try to thread the needle by saying she respects the democratic process while emphasizing that she believes Alberta's best future is within Canada, as long as Canada respects Alberta. It's the classic politician's non-answer answer. Say enough to keep everyone semi-happy while committing to nothing concrete. Will it work? Who knows? Alberta politics is unpredictable at the best of times, and these are not the best of times. And let's not forget the rest of Canada in all this. If Alberta actually votes yes, every other province is going to lose their minds. Quebec will immediately start making noise about their own status. Saskatchewan might decide they want in on this separation thing too. British Columbia will probably just smoke some legal cannabis and wonder what's happening. Ontario will panic about losing transfer payment contributions. The Maritimes will worry about being even more isolated. It would be absolute chaos from coast to coast. Canada as we know it would be fundamentally changed, possibly permanently. This isn't just an Alberta issue, this is a national crisis waiting to happen. The referendum is coming, whether we like it or not. The question is on the table. The signatures were gathered. The vote will happen. And when it does, Danielle Smith will have to choose where she stands, not in vague political terms, but in clear, unambiguous reality. Does she stand with Canada, or does she stand with separation? There's no middle ground on a ballot question. You're either voting yes or voting no. And whatever happens, whatever Albertans decide, the fallout will shape Canadian politics for a generation. This is the kind of historical moment that textbooks will cover, the kind of decision that changes everything. So here's where you come in. This channel, Canadian Insights, is dedicated to breaking down these massive political stories every single day. We're not here to tell you what to think, we're here to give you the information, the context, and yeah, a little humor to help you understand what's actually happening in this country. If you want to stay on top of the Alberta referendum, federal politics, provincial drama, and everything in between, hit that subscribe button right now. Seriously, we post multiple videos daily, so you'll never miss a beat. Drop a comment below and let me know, do you think Alberta will actually vote yes on separation? What should Danielle Smith do? And most importantly, what do you think this means for Canada's future? Let's talk about it. Because this conversation is just getting started, and 2026 is going to be one wild ride. I'm Canadian Insights, and I'll see you in the next one.